Today we are going to cover the chapter solution. Before I cover the chapter, let me briefly walk you through how to access the revision notes and test in Play6 website. If you go to play6.com and click on practice, we are having different packages available here. Since we are discussing with NEET, let us go to NEET Premium, and at the top you are having revision notes. If you click on revision notes, it opens in a new tab, and this is a precise note of all the chapter, including all the three subjects, that is physics, chemistry and biology. And if you go to here, you are having test for each subject, and each subject will have test on chapter wise. And along with that, we have a NEET full test which will contain two sections, that is one which is prepared by Play6 tutor, and the other section is our past papers. Now let us go into the chapter, that is solution. So immediately when we talk about solution, what is a solution? Is a homogeneous mixture of two or more chemically non-reactive substances whose composition it can be varied within certain limits. So when we say solution, or it is a mixture of two or more chemically non-reactive substance, we can say that a solution is composed of a solvent and a solute. So the component of a solution which is present in huge quantity, you say that as solvent, and that will determine the physical state of the solution. And the component of a solution which is present in lesser amount, we say it as a solute. And basically our solution is categorized into two types, that is homogeneous solution and heterogeneous solution. Solution, we can say that with uniform composition and properties, if it is having throughout the solution, uniform composition and properties throughout the solution, if we say that it is a homogeneous solution. Example, we can take solution of salt or sugar in water, or simple you can say a cup of coffee. And the heterogeneous solution is solution with non-uniform composition. When you are having non-uniform composition and properties throughout the solution, then we say that it is a heterogeneous solution. For example, you can say solution of water and sand, or simple we can say solution of oil and water. But here the most important part of this chapter is concentration of the solution. Concentration of the solution says that is, it is measure of the composition of a solute, that is of a solution, or you can say a solution with relatively very large quantity. If it is having large quantity of solute, you call that as a concentrated solution. And in the same way, if we are saying that the solution with relatively very small quantity of solute, you call that as dilute solution. So concentration of the solution we categorize into two sections as concentrated solution and dilute solution. So concentrated, obviously concentration and dilute, we are deciding based on the content or based on the quantity of solute which is being present in it. So when we say quantitative calculation of the concentration of solution, because we are talking about concentration of solution, there are different ways to calculate the concentration of a solution quantitatively. So when we say concentration, we start talking about strength of the solution, and strength of the solution is defined as the amount of solute in grams being present in 1 liter of the solution, in grams present in 1 liter of the solution. it is expressed as gram per liter. So you can say strength of the solution is equal to mass of the solute in grams by volume of the solution in liter. Mass of the solute in grams by volume of the solution. So when we say strength, here we are talking about concentration. That is how we are going to measure quantitative calculation of the concentration of the solution. That is, we can say mass percentage, it can be volume percentage, mass by volume, parts per million, mole fraction, molarity, molality. All these terms are very, very important in exam point of view. So when we are talking about concentration, if we say mass percentage, what it is? Mass percentage is said as the mass of the component in solution divided by total mass of the solution into 100. So mass percentage, you can say that it is the ratio of the mass of the component of the solution and the total mass of the solution into 100. So we say that as a term, that is mass percentage. In the similar way, we can have as volume percentage also we can calculate, or based on the volume percentage we can talk about the concentration of the solution. So volume percentage is said as volume of the component in the solution divided by total volume of the solution. That is total volume of the solution. So when we say volume percentage, it is nothing but the simple term we can say ratio of volume of the component of the solution and the total mass, or we can say volume multiplied by the 100. So volume percentage, if suppose I want to calculate in ethanol, that is in 100 ml solution containing 10 ml of ethanol, for example. So we will say volume of ethanol in the solution by volume of the total solution into 100. And similar way for as like your volume percentage, we can also calculate mass by volume for the concentration. So when we say mass by volume percentage, it can be the mass of the solute dissolved in 100 ml of the solution. Mass of the solute dissolved in 100 ml of the solution. So when we talk about percentage, it becomes mass of solute by volume of the solution into 100. Mass of solute by volume of solution into 100. And next is parts per million. What we say it as, in short, we always see it as parts per million as ppm. Parts per million is defined as the ratio of number of parts of the component to the total number of parts of all component solution multiplied into, that is your 10 to the power of 6. So when we say parts per million, it is defined as the, we can say, number of parts of the component by total number of parts of all component of the solution into 10 to the power of 6. And when we talk about mole fraction, what we say as mole fraction? Mole fraction is nothing but as the, we can say it as ratio of the number of moles of the component in the solution to the total number of moles of all the component in the solution. So number of moles of the component, whichever, for example, if I say binary mixture or a solution, that is Na and Nb. So if I want to calculate mole fraction of A, I can say that it is X of A is equal to Na by Na plus Nb. So I am trying to calculate the mole fraction of one component in the total solution. So we are taking it as number of moles of that particular component which I am trying to calculate divided by the total number of moles of all the components. So you can calculate XB as your NB by Na plus NB. So whichever component we are trying to calculate, we can take it of that particular component divided by the total. And next important part is what is molarity. What is molarity, molality, and solubility? So when we say molality, that is simple difference. Molality is defined as your ratio of number of moles of solute by mass of solvent in kg, and here you are having same moles of solute divided by volume of solution in liter. We say it as this one is molality and this is molarity. Molality and molarity. So we should always have the difference. Molarity is capital M and this is small. So when we say molarity, it is the ratio of number of moles of solute in the volume of solution. And do focus, the unit is very, very important. They may give you in kg or in grams, then accordingly you have to convert it. And what is solubility? Solubility is nothing but you can say it is a physical property of any solution, and we try to measure the measure of maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in qualified amount of solvent, that dissolved in qualified amount of solvent. And basically the property of a solution or the solubility property which we are talking here, this is going to depend upon the factors like you can say the nature of the solute and the solvent, and the interaction between them, what type of solute we have considered, what type of solvent we have considered, and how strong their interactions are. So based on that, the solubility factor depends. Or we can say molecular size of the solute. That is, if we are taking larger molecules, they are more, it becomes more difficult for them to dissolve in the solvent. But whereas if our solute size is smaller, it is very simple to dissolve, or it will dissolve very easily. And the third factor we can say it as polarity. That is, polar solvent like your water, ethanol, or we also consider formaldehyde, they will dissolve polar solute, whereas non-polar solvent like we can say pyridine, toluene, hexane, they will dissolve only non-polar solutes. And of course, solubility is getting affected by increasing the temperature. If we increase the temperature, there is increase in solubility. And if we talk about pressure, yes, rise in pressure will increase the solubility. So there are different factors which affects the, or which determines the characteristics, or which will impact the solubility. And next very important law which we need to study is two laws in this chapter. One is our Henry's law and the other one is Rawls' law. When we say Henry's law, what is Henry's law? At constant temperature, the solubility of a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to the temperature of the gas. As I told you, solubility of a substance will increase as your temperature is increasing. So according to Henry, he decided or he established a quantitative relation between the pressure and solubility of a solvent. So according to this law, at constant temperature, we say the solubility of a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to the pressure of the gas. Hence, you can say pressure is directly proportional to the solubility. That is, and your pressure becomes equal to Kh into X, and Kh is taken as Henry's law constant. So at same temperature, different gases will have different Kh value. It is an important factor to note it. And when we talk about Rawls' law, what is Rawls' law? Rawls' law states that for a solution of volatile liquid, the partial vapor pressure of each component in the solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction. That is, it is directly proportional to its mole fraction. So when we say Rawls' law, based on the Rawls' law, we can say there are different categories of a solution. So when we say that law is only, Rawls law is only for liquid solution. It is liquid solution. And when, so we can say that according to Rawls law, your solution of a volatile liquid, the partial pressure of each component in the solution will be directly proportional to its mole fraction, or we say it as P is equal to P naught X, where P naught is the vapor pressure of the pure component at the same temperature. It is the vapor pressure of the pure component at the same temperature. So when we say based on the concept of our Rawls law, we are having two categories of solution, that is ideal and non-ideal. So an ideal is solution is that which will obey the Rawls law in all conditions of temperature and concentration. An ideal solution will obey the Rawls law in all conditions of temperature and pressure. And a non-ideal solution is a solution that does not abide to the rules of an ideal solution, or you can say where the interaction between the molecules are identical to the interaction between the molecules of different component. And it's very important to know that which are all the solution it is obeying Rawls law. We give the category as ideal solution, and if it does not obey the law of Rawls law, we say that it is a non-ideal solution. So when we say as the pressure of the gas above the liquid in a system is going to increase, the gas molecules will become more soluble in the solvent. And if the pressure of the gas in the system is decreasing, the gas becomes less soluble. So it is very important to learn your Rawls law. And one concept we have is that is azotropes. What is azotropes? So when we say azotropes, what binary mixture if we consider binary mixture possessing the same synthesis in fluids, that is it should possess the same synthesis in fluid, vapor stage and boiling stage at a steady temperature. Azotropes are nothing but the binary mixture which possess the same synthesis in fluid, vapor stage and boiling stage at a steady temperature. So the component of azeotropic mixture, they are basically separated by the method of fractional distillation. They are basically separated by the method of fractional distillation. And azeotropes are basically categorized into two sections, that is our minimum boiling azeotropes and maximum boiling azeotropes. So when we say minimum boiling, that means this solution will show positive deviation from Rawls law. And if we say maximum boiling, the solution will show negative deviation from the Rawls law. That is what is the categorization based on your your azeotropes, that is maximum boiling azeotropes and minimum boiling azeotropes. And the next factor which we should know is called as relative lowering of vapor pressure. What is relative lowering of vapor pressure? So when we say that lowering of the vapor pressure of a solution with several non-volatile solutes, is totally going to depend upon the sum of the mole fraction of different solutes. So when we say vapor pressure of a solvent which is going to be present in solution is less than the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. So according to your Rawls law, lowering of vapor pressure of a solution is going to depend upon it is going to depend only on the concentration of the solute particles, and it will be independent of their identity. It will be independent of their identity. So we can say P is equal to your X1 P1 naught. So basically the reduction in vapor pressure of the solvent, we say it as delta P by P naught will be equal to P1 naught minus P1 by P1 naught. And this factor we call it as relative lowering of vapor pressure. This factor we consider it as relative lowering of vapor pressure, and your X is nothing but the mole fraction of the solute, which can be equal to N2 by N1 plus N2. N2 by N1 plus N2. And next we have to talk about in a dilute solution. Whenever we talk in a dilute solution, when we are talking about your delta TF is directly proportional to M. Your delta TF is directly proportional to M, or even we can say delta TB will be directly proportional to M, that is elevation, or you can say boiling point of the solution, and here delta TF is freezing point. So when we are saying in a dilute solution, delta TF will be directly proportional to our M. So in the, and here your TF is, Kf is your proportionality constant depending upon the nature of the solvent, and and decrease in freezing point we represent it as TF. Decrease in freezing point we say it for TF, and your Kf is proportionality constant depending upon the nature of the solvent, and that is why we call it as a freezing point depression constant or molar depression constant. The next important factor we should know is what is osmosis. What is osmosis? So osmosis is a concept where we are going to talk about osmosis. We have to discuss that the pressure or the flow, osmotic pressure of the solution is going to be directly proportional to the molar concentration or the molarity of the solution and its temperature. So the process of the flow of solvent molecule from solvent to solution through semi-permeable membrane, we call it as osmosis. The process of the flow of the solvent molecules from solvent to solution through a semi-permeable membrane, we call it as osmosis. And the pressure that just stops the flow of solvent molecule through semi-permeable membrane is called as osmotic pressure of the solution. And osmotic pressure of the solution is basically directly proportional to the molarity of the solution and its temperature. That is why we say a formula that osmotic pressure is equal to pi is equal to CRT. C is here the, C can take up the value as your N2 by V, and N2 can be equal to our W2 by your M2. So, and there are different classifications of our osmotic, that is a solution. So when we say classifications on that, it is considered to be as your isotonic, hypertonic, and hypotonic. So when we say classification of solution based on osmotic pressure, if I classify the solution based on osmotic pressure, it is categorized as isotonic, hypertonic, and hypotonic. Isotonic is two solutions possessing same osmotic pressure at a given temperature. I repeat, two solutions possessing same osmotic pressure at a given temperature, we say it as isotonic. And when we talk about hypertonic, that is, if suppose we have the medium has a lower convergence of water than the cell, it is concentrated solution. So the cell will lose water by osmosis. Such a solution is known as hypertonic solution. Or once more water is going to cross the cell layer in both the direction, yet for, I mean, we can say more water levels are there, and leaves the cell and then enters it. In this manner, the cell will start shrinking, and we say that it is a hypertonic. And when we talk about hypotonic, the medium encompassing the cell will have higher water concentration than the cell compared to the, so here hypertonic or hypotonic, you are doing based on the comparison of the water concentration between the cell and the medium, where the cell and the medium. So when we are having higher water concentration in the medium is higher compared to the cell, that means outside solution will be extremely weakened and the cell will pick up water by osmosis. So that is why the solution is called as hypotonic. And when we are saying it as in endothermic reaction, if you try to increase the temperature, it will increase the solubility of the solute, because the net energy from bond will break and forming means that heat energy will be observed, and when the solute is getting dissolved in the solution, and of course the solubility will decrease with increase in temperature, and then the process of dissolution is actually exothermic. So there are many important factors or many important points in this chapter. When we are concerned, the important part to focus as far as your exams are concerned is concentration of the solution, Raoult's law, and osmosis. Many numericals come from this chapter based on the concept of concentration of the solution, or based on the concept, on the concept of osmosis. So do focus, and the precise notes, or we can say simplified notes, are provided here. So it is better you revise and then you try to attempt the exam. And now this is what we have based on the concept of the chapter. Based on the analysis of the concept, let us try taking a test and see how much we have understood. Let us go to chemistry, and since we are doing the chapter today, solution, and if you look at the colors here, green color, each bubble is actually a test, and green color indicates that the test is already taken, blue the test is in progress, that is it is partially taken, and orange it is yet to be taken, and R is a random test if you need any additional practice on the chapter. And there is no hard and fast rule that one test can be taken only one time. You can take the test n number of times unless and until you feel confident in all the answer of that particular test. Now let us try taking a test from the chapter solution. So let us take the test. So which of the following is an example of gaseous solution? Which of the following is an example of gaseous solution? So when we say gaseous solution, when you are studying solute and solvent, when you are trying to study different types of solution, it is very important to note that what type of solution, that is what type of combination we are talking about. If we try taking a test, or if we are doing, so you should know the different combination of the test we are doing. Suppose if we are saying that gas and solid and, so those types of combination, do remember what it is, what are all the names given to that. But here when we are talking about the gaseous solution, gaseous solution means that solute as well as solvent should be in gas phase. Gaseous solution means that solute and solvent should be in gas phase. So from the given option, if I try to choose, it should be chloroform mixed with nitrogen, because here solute and solvent, both of them will be in gas phase. Hence our answer D should be the right answer. Let us save that and go to next. Which of the following is an example of liquid solution? What is liquid solution? That is, here solute is solid, whereas solvent is a liquid. So when we are saying liquid solution, your solute should be a solid and your solvent will be a liquid. So from the given option, if we say glucose dissolved in water, that is solute, solid dissolved in liquid, so we can say that it is a liquid solution. Option B should be the right answer. Let us save that and go to next. Which of the following example, sorry, is an example of solid solution? So when we say all the solution, that is all solution solvent, we can say solid solution, solid in solid. So here when you check it, all the option given will be a solid solution, because when we say solid, the solvent should be a solid. So you can say from the given option, all are solid solution. Let us save that and go to next. Here, what is the mole fraction? This type of questions are very, very important. So please do practice of it. They have given us what is the mole fraction of ethylene glycol in a solution containing 20% ethylene glycol by mass. So suppose, let us solve this. Suppose if we say that 100 gram of solution is going to contain 20% ethylene. So 100 gram is going to contain 20% ethylene glycol. Hence we can say that your 20 gram is ethylene glycol and the rest, that is 100 minus 20, your 80 gram is water. So do find out the molar mass of ethylene glycol. We can say molar mass of ethylene glycol is equal to 62 grams per mole. And now we have to calculate the number of moles. So number of moles is given mass by molar mass. Hence we can say it is 20 by 62, which we will get it as around 0.32 mole. And the molar mass of water, we know it, it is 18, and here given mass, it is 80. So number of moles of water, it will become as your 80 by 18, which is equal to almost 4.44. So now they have asked you to calculate the molar mass of, sorry, mole fraction of ethylene glycol. So what is the formula of mole fraction? That is moles of the component divided by the total number of moles. So ethylene glycol, the number of moles is 0.322 divided by total number of moles. That means it should be 0.322 plus 4.44. If you solve this, you will get an answer of 0.068. So let us see that. Yes, option C should be the right answer. Let us save that and go to next. Here, what is the mole fraction of water? Same format, same formula. The only thing is here when we have calculated, this is the mole fraction of your ethylene glycol. But here in this question, they have asked mole fraction of water. So if I try to subtract, that is 1 minus 0.068, that is you need to repeat the same process, and then you can subtract 1 minus 0.068, or the other alternative will be you can do it as 4.44 divided by 0.322 plus 4.44, because since they have asked you the mole fraction of water, so mole fraction, that is number of moles of the component by total number of moles. So either way you can go, and then if you subtract 1 minus, your answer should be as 0.932. So option D should be the right answer. Let us save that and go to next. Molarity of NaOH solution containing 5 gram of NaOH in 450 ml of solution. So molarity, we know the formula, that it is moles of the solute by molarity, that is volume of the solution in liter. So moles of the solute by volume of the solution in liter. So they have given us volume, that is your NaOH is 450 ml. Do focus, they have given us in ml, but we need it in liter. Sorry. So we need it in liter. And moles of NaOH, mass we know. So the moles, you can say that it is moles of NaOH is given mass by molar mass. Hence given mass is 5 and molar mass is 40. So we'll get around 0.125. Now we can calculate the molarity as 0.125 divided by 0.45. So we can get an answer of 0.278 moles per liter. Let us see, 0.278 moles per liter. So let us save that and go to next. A sample of H2SO4 solution is labeled by 98% by weight, and we have to calculate what is the molarity of acid given the density of H2SO4 solution is 1.8. So when we say once again the same formula that they are asking us to calculate the molarity, so you will say as moles of the solute divided by volume of the solution in your liter. So volume, it is equal to 1 liter, or we can say it as 1000 ml. So mass of the solution, you will get it as 1.8 into your 1000, because you know density is equal to mass into mass by volume. So you'll get it as 1800 gram, and mass of the solute 98% of 1800, which you may get it around 1764 gram. Of course, you can calculate your molarity as 1764 divided by your 98, which you will get it around 18. So let us see that it should be 18 m. Let us save that and go to next. And here see, the only difference is there they have asked you molarity, and here they have asked us the normality. They have asked us the normality. So once again, there should be a relation between the molarity and the normality. Molarity, that is normality, will be equal to your molarity into valence factor. Molarity into the valence factor. So till 18 m, it is going to be same, that is molarity, and normality, when we say it is valence factor into your molarity, and valence factor for H2SO4 is 2. So you will get 2 into 18, that is equal to 36 N. Hence our option C should be the right answer. Let us save that and go to next. What is the mass percentage? Here they have asked mass percentage of benzene in carbon tetrachloride. So we all know mass percent, and if 20 gram of benzene is dissolved in 180 gram of CCl4. So when we calculate the mass percentage, that is mass percentage will be equal to mass of your benzene divided by the mass of solution. Mass percentage of benzene divided by mass of the solution into 100. So mass of benzene, what they have given us, it is 20 gram, and your 180 gram of CCl4. So when we say mass of benzene to be 20, but here I don't need only CCl4, but I need the mass of the solution, and which is a combination of your benzene as well as CCl4. That means our mass of the solution will become as 20 plus 180. So which is equal to 20 by 200. That means it should be 10%. So our answer should be D. Let us save that and go to next. What is the mole fraction of benzene in solution containing 20% mass in CCl? For here, the only difference is we need to calculate the mole fraction. So mole fraction of the component we need to calculate. And which component? It is our benzene. So as usual, when we are saying mole fraction is nothing but number of moles of the component divided by the total number of moles of all component. So suppose if we say that total mass is equal to 100 gram and benzene is 20 percentage. So mass of benzene, it becomes equal to benzene, it is becoming equal to 20 grams. And then of course the other option is your CCl4, so we can say that as it is equal to 80 grams. But we need mole fraction, hence I need that is my moles. So molar mass, sorry, moles, how will I calculate? Number of moles is equal to your molar mass, that is given mass by molar mass. So given mass is 20 and molar mass of benzene, if you calculate, you will get it around 78. So I can say 20 by 78, which is 0.256 and so more. And when I calculate the mole fraction of CCl4, that is, you can say given mass by molar mass again. So given mass is 80 and molar mass is 154, which you will get it as 0.51. So now if I calculate the mole fraction of benzene they have asked us, so you can say 0.256 divided by your 0.51 plus 0.256. If you solve this, you will get a value of 0.3. So our option D should be the right option. Let us save that and go to next. What is the molarity of solution if 60 gram of this is dissolved in 4.3 liter of solution? If 60 gram is being dissolved in 4.3 liter of the solution. So what again we have to calculate the molarity. When we calculate the molarity, it is nothing but say moles of the solute by volume of the solution. So given volume, they have given us 4.3 liter. Hence you can say volume is equal to 4.3 liter. And if I calculate the molar mass of the given value, that is CONO3 twice dot 6H2O, you will get it around 291 gram per mole. Hence, number of moles of the solute, you can say that number of moles is equal to 60 divided by 291, which you will get it as 0.206 moles. Thus, you can say your molarity is equal to 0.206 divided by the volume, that is your 4.3, which you will get it as 0.047 molarity. Answer should be 0.047, that is our A. Let us save that and go to next. If 50 ml of 0.5 m H2SO4 is diluted to 1000 ml, what is the molarity of diluted solution? So molarity, you are getting two values, M1 B1 and M2 B2. So according to the question, if we say 50 ml of 0.5 m H2SO4 and that is diluted to 1000 ml, and we have to calculate our M2. So for example, if we say, let us imagine the formula as M1 B1 is equal to M2 and B2. So here they have given us M1, which is equal to 0.5 m, and your B1, that is equal to 50 ml, and B2, it is, we are considering 1000 ml, and M2 is unknown. So it becomes very simple to substitute in this formula, and we can calculate our M2 as M1 B1 divided by B2, which we can say it as 0.5 into 50 divided by 1000. So you will get this value to be 0.025 m. Hence our option 0.025 A should be the right answer. Let us save that and go to next. how much mass of urea is required in preparing 5 gram of 0.50 molar solution, 0.50 molar solution. So if we say it as molar mass of, first thing we have to calculate, that is molar mass of urea. So what is the molar mass of urea? So, which we will get as molar mass of urea, we get it around 60 gram per mole. And we say 0.5 molar aqueous solution of urea means that 1000 gram of water is going to contain 0.5 mole, because they have given you that 0.5 gram of 0.50. So when we say as 0.5 molar aqueous solution means urea mass, that 1000 gram of water is going to contain 0.5 mole. So we can say 0.5 into your 60, which you will get it around 30 gram of urea. So 30 gram of urea, that means total your solution weight is going to be around same 1000 grams plus your 30 gram. And what they have given 5 kg, it is 5 kg, that means totally 5000 grams. And 5000 grams for which one? For urea. Hence if I want to calculate the required fraction, we can say that it is 30 into your 5000 divided by 1000 plus 30. Whatever the value we get, that is what is the mass of urea that is required for preparing 5 gram. So if you solve this value, you will get it around 145.63. 145.63. Let us save that and go to next. Solubility of a substance in a solvent depends upon. When we were discussing, we said what are all the factors on which solubility of a solvent depends upon. And of course, the solubility of a substance in a solvent will depend upon the nature of the solute, solvent, temperature, and pressure. Hence, you can say all the above given option, because we are having nature of the solute, nature of the solvent, temperature, and pressure. Hence, our option D should be the right answer. Let us save that and go to next. 1 molar solution indicates. This is a well-known fact or definition. We can say that 1 molar solution is nothing but molarity. By definition itself says that number of gram moles of a substance per 1000 grams of the solvent. So molality, we know that number of grams, that is moles of a substance per 1000 grams of the solvent. So 1 mole of the solute present in 1000 gram of the solvent. Hence we can say answer B to be the right one. Let us save that and end the test since we have completed all the questions. So here, since we have done all the questions to be right, all the 15 questions are indicated green in color. But in case if you give any answer to be wrong, it would be indicated red in color. And if suppose we leave any of the answer to be unanswered, that is we do not attempt the question, then the color will be orange in color. And suppose if you click on any question, that will give you the right answer as well as the explanation of that particular solution. So in case if you go wrong anywhere, it would be helpful to find out the right answer as well as with explanation. Hence it is very important to note that this will give you the right answer, but along with that you will get a detailed explanation how to arrive at that particular answer. That is all we have for today's class. But if you need any additional help or if you have any doubts, do reach us by with the help of Ask feature, which is available in play6.com. or you can reach out to us with the help of Telegram chat application. And in case if you need any additional help on any particular chapter, you can reach out to Play 6 Management for one-to-one tutoring for any subject, that is physics, chemistry, biology, whichever you have difficulty. Thank you, students. We'll catch you up tomorrow with a new chapter.